Nana, you need to go right now. My grandson's voice was tight, urgent, barely louder than a whisper, but I heard it clear as a bell over the clinking wine glasses and the soft jazz music playing overhead. I blinked at him, confused. What? Landon gripped my arm. His fingers trembled. His eyes, usually warm and steady, were wide with something I'd never seen before, fear. Please, just trust me. We have to leave, now. That word, trust, was all it took. Landon had never lied to me. Not once in 20 years. Not when he broke the neighbor's window playing baseball. Not when his mother, my daughter Heather, tried to twist stories to make herself look better. Landon always told the truth, even when it hurt. So I stood, even though every polite instinct in my body told me to stay seated. Smile, finish dessert. Where are you going, Mom? Heather called across the table, her smile stretched tight. The cake's about to come out. I just need some air, I said, grabbing my purse. Derek, my son-in-law, stepped in front of me, still smiling. It's a bit chilly outside, Marianne. Why not wait until after dessert? Landon stepped in, too. She needs fresh air, Dad. Let her go. The title still felt foreign. Dad. Derek wasn't a father. Not the way he treated Landon. Not the way he treated anyone. He was a charmer, a salesman, a schemer. And tonight, something was wrong. The room had felt off since I arrived. Too many unfamiliar faces. Too many glasses of wine I didn't remember finishing. Too many comments about my properties, my legacy, my transition plan. All framed like compliments, but with a bite beneath the sugar. Landon led me out of the restaurant and into the night air. I was steady on my feet, but my head was foggy, a little slow. Had I had too much wine? No, I'd only taken sips. I'd been careful. The breeze cleared my mind a little, but my pulse quickened. Landon, I said, what is going on? He looked over his shoulder toward the glowing restaurant windows. Then he leaned in close, voice shaking. They were trying to get you to sign something tonight, upstairs. There are lawyers waiting. I overheard them, but that's not the worst part. I held my breath. They drugged your wine, Nana. For a second, I didn't understand. Then the weight of his words hit me like ice water down my spine. I stared at him. They what? Landon swallowed. Mom got the stuff from her friend Riley. She said it makes people calm, compliant, just long enough to sign papers. I stepped backward, the breath leaving my lungs. That was when I knew. This wasn't just about money, it was war, and they thought I'd walk right into it. But they'd forgotten one thing. I raised Landon, and he remembered who I really was. 3 days before the dinner, the front door to my house had slammed so hard it rattled the framed photo of my late husband above the fireplace. Heather stood there, arms crossed, her designer handbag still swinging from her shoulder. Derek followed behind, silent, hands in his jacket pockets like a teenager being dragged into a parent-teacher conference. We need to talk, Heather snapped. I stayed seated in my armchair, flipping the page of my property ledger with deliberate calm. Hello to you too, sweetheart. Coffee? This isn't social, Mom. Her voice was tight, rehearsed. Derek's got a time-sensitive opportunity, and we need your help. I sighed inwardly. Here we go again. Derek cleared his throat. It's a wellness tech startup. Real-time diagnostics, AI-based health tracking, monthly subscriptions. We've already got a pilot program running in Miami. And you need what? I asked. Another $50,000? Heather's expression twisted. It's not like that. It's a real investment. Real people are back in this. I stood, walked to the filing cabinet behind my desk, and pulled out a thick folder labeled Failed Ventures, D&H. I flipped it open on the dining table. Let's review. Derek shifted uncomfortably. The personal training app that never launched. $22,000 gone. I tapped the page. Then the boutique fitness studio in Salem. You closed it in 6 months after I covered $60,000 in lease and renovations. Heather rolled her eyes. We already explained. And the supplement brand, you promised you had exclusive rights to a new formula. I paid for the packaging run. $1,000. Never even made it to market. That wasn't our fault, Derek muttered. No, of course not, I said quietly. It never is. Heather's voice rose. You're sitting on millions of dollars in property, Mom. You could help us and never even feel it. I felt every single dollar I earned, I said, locking eyes with her. When your father died, I had $4,300 to my name, a mortgage, and a 10-year-old to raise. I worked 14-hour days. I painted walls. I scrubbed carpets. I negotiated every lease. This, I waved at the folder. This is the result of my blood and grit. And you want to roll dice with it. We're your family, Heather hissed. Don't you want to help us build something? I stared at her. Not if it's built on manipulation. The silence crackled between us. Then Heather said something I would never forget, but when we finally succeed, and we will, don't expect us to help you when you're too old to handle all this alone. Derek said nothing. He just opened the door for her like a chauffeur. They walked out. The door slammed behind them. But that threat, it stayed. And now I realized it wasn't just a tantrum, it was a warning, and I had missed it. The text came Thursday morning. Hi, Mom. I've been thinking, maybe we were all too emotional the other day. Derek's birthday is Saturday, just a small dinner at Bramble and Vine. Nothing formal, Landon really wants you there. Will you come? I stared at the screen. Heather never apologized, not in childhood, not in adulthood, but here she was extending an olive branch laced with sugar. Part of me wanted to delete the message. Another part, the part that still loved the little girl she used to be, hesitated. And then she mentioned Landon. He had always been this bridge between us. Honest, steady, the only reason I hadn't written Heather and Derek off years ago. If he wanted me there, maybe I owed him that much. I replied simply, if Landon needs me, I'll be there. Saturday evening came quickly. I chose a simple navy dress, practical heels, and a clutch with only the essentials, phone cards, and ID. I left my checkbook at home along with the estate planning binder Heather had once borrowed and conveniently never returned. When the taxi pulled up in front of Bramble and Vine, I took a slow breath. The restaurant glowed softly from its bay windows, candles flickering on white tablecloths. Too elegant for a small family dinner, but I told myself not to be paranoid. Inside, the hostess smiled too brightly when I gave my name. Right this way, Mrs. Doyle. They've reserved the private garden table. Private garden? As I was led through the dining room, I spotted Heather waving from the back. Derek beside her. And wait, 8 chairs? Surprise, Heather beamed, kissing my cheek. We figured you deserved a proper meal. You're the guest of honor, after all. I blinked. I thought this was Derek's birthday. It is, she laughed, but who says we can't celebrate 2 legends at once? Before I could respond, someone in a tailored blazer stepped forward. Mrs. Doyle, such a pleasure. I'm Evan Lanning, Derek's colleague from Axis Capital. I've heard so much about your real estate ventures. Pleasure, I said cautiously, shaking his hand. Dinner unfolded like a rehearsed script. Conversations steered toward legacy planning, wealth preservation, modern estate transfers. I picked at my food, answering questions vaguely, while Heather and Derek played perfect hosts, and the wine, God, the wine, never stopped flowing. And my glass refilled itself every time I looked away. I took sips, small ones, but soon something felt off. My limbs were warm, heavier, like I was wading through fog in my own mind. Then I noticed Landon. He wasn't laughing, that he wasn't eating, that he was watching me, not the others, me, and his face had changed. The warmth was gone. What replaced it was quiet panic, like a man watching a slow-motion car crash, knowing he couldn't stop it unless he moved right now. Nana, Landon said quietly, leaning close. We need to go. Right now. I blinked at him, forcing a smile, trying to play along. Why, I whispered. He didn't answer. He just gently took my hand and stood up, guiding me away from the table. Heather noticed instantly. Where are you 2 going? Just grabbing some air, Landon replied with a calmness that sounded almost rehearsed. It's a bit stuffy in here. Derek stood halfway. Mom, stay for dessert. We ordered your favorite, lemon tort. Landon didn't stop. He tugged me gently toward the archway leading to the front entrance. Heather's voice rang out, a little too cheerful. Oh, come on, Mom. Don't be rude. We still have a surprise coming. Her words were like a tripwire. I stopped walking, turned to her. What kind of surprise? She paused, then smiled. Too wide. Just someone we wanted you to meet. Someone who could help you. Plan for the future. My blood ran cold. I looked at Landon. His grip on my hand tightened. We moved faster after that. Once we reached the parking lot, the night air hit me like a slap, sharp, sobering. My heart was pounding, and not from the wine. Landon led me between 2 parked cars and turned to face me. Nana, they were going to take you upstairs after dessert. They have a private room reserved with 2 lawyers waiting. I stared at him. Lawyers? They were going to say you requested a private meeting about transferring your business. I heard them talking yesterday. My stomach dropped. But that's not all, he continued, his voice shaking. I saw Mom slip something into your glass tonight. She thought I wasn't looking. I froze. She got it from her friend Riley. She works at a vet clinic. It's a sedative, used to calm down large animals before surgery. It makes people confused, compliant, but still able to sign things. I heard her tell Dad it wears off before morning. The world tilted beneath my feet. I only drank a little, I whispered. You're already slurring a bit, Nana, he said. We have to go now. We can still test your blood, but if you go back inside, if you go upstairs, there'll be no way to prove you didn't sign everything willingly. My hand went to my chest. My breath was shallow. They were going to rob me, I said aloud. My own daughter. He nodded slowly. My throat tightened. Get me a cab. Landon was already dialing. As the screen glowed against his face, I saw the weight on him, the fear, the cost of what he was doing. Are you going back in? I asked. Then it's act. He hesitated. I have to. If I disappear, they'll know. You're risking everything, sweetheart. He looked at me just for a moment and said, So are you. The cab pulled up. I slid inside, my hands trembling. As we pulled away, I looked through the back window. Landon was already walking back into the restaurant, into the lion's den, for me. The cab's headlights cut through the Portland night as I leaned against the cool window glass, trying to slow my breathing. My lips felt thick, my mind clouded over in strange waves, like I was floating just behind myself, watching it all unfold from a step too far away. Ma'am, the driver asked, glancing in the mirror, are you all right? I need to go to St. Vincent's emergency room, I said carefully. I think someone drugged me. That got his attention. 10 minutes later, I was in triage, holding tight to the memory of Landon's voice. They drugged your wine, Nana, just enough to sign. The nurse's voice was gentle but urgent as she inserted the IV and drew blood. You said it was veterinary grade. Do you know the name of the drug? I tried to remember. Medetomidine. I think that's what Landon said. She nodded sharply. We'll run the tox screen now. While I waited in a dim recovery room, 2 police officers arrived, a woman and a man, both around Landon's age. I told them everything I could while the fog still swirled in my head but hadn't taken hold completely. The younger officer asked, Do you know who may have put the substance in your drink? My daughter, I said hoarsely, and her husband. There was a silence, heavy, respectful. The woman officer nodded, taking notes. We already have officers responding to the restaurant, she said. Your grandson called in and confirmed what he saw. The male officer looked at me, lowering his voice. We're going to treat this as suspected attempted elder fraud and possible poisoning. If the blood test confirms the sedative, we'll escalate it to conspiracy and attempted incapacitation for financial gain. My throat was dry. They were going to make me sign over my business, everything. Do you have legal documents? Proof of ownership? Account records? I have everything. My lawyer will confirm it. The nurse returned 30 minutes later. Her face was tight. Test came back positive, she said. Medetomidine. High enough to impair cognition but not fully sedate. It lines up with what your grandson described. And just like that, it wasn't paranoia anymore. It was truth. Official, documented, undeniable. At 2 a.m., a kind intern helped me into a taxi and tucked my discharge papers into my purse. As the cab turned onto my street, my phone buzzed. Landon, they arrested Dad. Mom's being questioned. I told them everything. Are you safe? I texted back with trembling fingers. Safe. Home, you saved me. I love you. Love you too, Nana. I think they'll never forgive me, but what they did, it wasn't just wrong, it was evil. He was right. They had crossed a line no child, no parent, no human being should ever cross. And in doing so, they'd set something loose in me. Not just pain, but something harder, colder, sharper, resolve. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my kitchen, the same place I'd raised Heather as a little girl, surrounded by my financial records, legal folders, and a cooling cup of tea I never touched. At sunrise, I called the only person I trusted with my estate beyond Landon, Sasha Chin, my attorney for the past 7 years. By 9 a.m., I was in her downtown office, overlooking the Willamette River. Sasha listened without interrupting as I described everything: the dinner, the wine, the blood test, the attempted signing, the arrest. Her expression remained composed, but I saw the storm behind her eyes. "We're not just talking about fraud, Marianne," she said. "This was premeditated incapacitation with clear intent to seize assets. That crosses into criminal conspiracy." She opened a fresh folder. "First, we revoke Heather's power of attorney immediately. Then we freeze any access she might have to your accounts or property titles. After that, we begin documenting every single financial and legal vulnerability you may have overlooked." I nodded, then leaned forward. "There's more," I said. "I want to know exactly how far they've gone, what they've done. I want to dig up every lie, every scam, every accomplice." Sasha raised a brow. "You're not just protecting yourself, you want justice." "I want truth," I said. "No more shadows. No more excuses." She gave a short nod and called in her investigator, Ben Alvarez, a former fraud examiner who now specialized in elder financial exploitation. I handed him a spreadsheet I'd already starred: dates of Heather's previous requests, Derek's failed ventures, and known business connections. 3 days later, Ben returned with results that chilled me. Heather had been embezzling funds from her job at a private wealth firm. She'd created fake quarterly statements for several elderly clients, quietly transferring portions of their dividends into her own accounts. So far, the estimated theft was over $380,000. Derek was no better. He'd used my name, Marianne Doyle, as silent guarantor in loan applications for a chain of virtual fitness studios that never existed beyond websites and mock-up brochures. And 6 lenders, combined fraud, $260,000. But the worst wasn't the money, it was who helped them. Riley, the vet tech, had knowingly stolen sedatives from her clinic. In exchange, she was promised a cut of future inheritance windfall. The lawyer who was waiting upstairs at Bramble and Vine, his name was Jordan Webb, a shady estate attorney Derek had met through a networking group. He had drafted real transfer documents disguised as succession planning papers. If I had signed them while drugged, my entire real estate empire would have legally transferred to Derek. No questions, no reversals. They hadn't just hoped I'd drink too much wine. They planned it, hunted it, engineered it, all of them. It wasn't desperation, it was organized theft. I looked at Sasha. "We go after all of them." She didn't flinch. "Then let's burn their web down." By the time Saturday morning arrived, I wasn't just prepared. I was armed. Ben had traced every one of Heather's fabricated statements, every falsified dividend, every forged document she'd sent to her elderly clients. We had names, we had numbers, we had timelines. Sasha looked over the organized folders I'd assembled. "You did all this overnight?" "I built a business from nothing," I replied. "I know how to track patterns, and I know when people have been used. 18 victims, all elderly, all manipulated by my daughter into believing their investments were secure. 6 lenders, all deceived by Derek's fraudulent use of my name as a silent financial backer. I want them to know," I said, "everything." Sasha hesitated. "You understand, once this goes out, Heather and Derek won't have a career to return to. No social circle, no savings. Nothing. They stole from people who trusted them," I said. "This isn't revenge, it's accountability." She nodded slowly. "Then we do it right. No threats, no emotion, just truth. Pure, cold truth." By 2 p.m., the packages were out. 18 sealed envelopes delivered by private courier to Heather's clients. Each contained their original account statements, the falsified ones Heather had sent, bank transfers tracing the money to her personal accounts. 6 other envelopes went to Derek's lenders with his fraudulent loan applications, the fake business plans, the guarantee letters bearing my forged initials. And one more package, sealed in red, was sent to the state licensing board for legal professionals, detailing Jordan Webb's involvement in preparing documents for a drugged elderly woman. By 5 p.m., the phone calls started, one by one. "Mrs. Doyle, my name is Margaret Vale. I've been with Heather's firm for 12 years. I just received your letter. Is it true, Wes? Yes, Margaret, I'm afraid it is. Another, Mrs. Doyle, I've worked with Derek since 2019. I had no idea you hadn't co-signed that loan. I'm calling the fraud unit right now. By 6 p.m., my phone was a constant chorus of shock, anger, and heartbreak. And yet, I felt calm. No more secrets. No more pretending Heather just lost her way. At 9:12 p.m., yeah, 9 p.m., Landon called. Nana, he said breathlessly, it's happening. What is? Mom came home in tears. She's been suspended. The firm's launching a full audit. Dad's yelling on the phone with someone about default notices. They're saying you destroyed them. No, sweetheart, I said, voice low. They destroyed themselves. I just turned on the lights. There was a long pause. Then he asked, Are you okay? I'm more than okay, I whispered. For the first time in years, I'm free. The truth was out, and once spoken, truth has a way of tearing down every lie trying to hold it back. 2 weeks later, I sat at the same kitchen table where Heather had once colored pictures of flowers and suns, and where decades later, I had rebuilt my entire life after her father died. The headline in the Sunday edition of the Oregon Business Ledger was simple but devastating. Financial advisor sentenced to 5 years for elder fraud. Heather had taken a plea deal, 18 counts of securities fraud, with full restitution. Derek followed shortly after. He got 3 years for conspiracy and financial misrepresentation. The lenders had come down hard. Their home had been foreclosed, every vehicle seized, bank accounts frozen. Jordan Webb was disbarred. Riley lost her veterinary license and was fined for theft of controlled substances. Every single accomplice had fallen, fast. And through it all, Landon stood by me. That morning, he knocked on my door holding a folder and 2 cups of coffee. Morning, Nana, I smiled. Come in, sit. He placed the folder in front of me. I officially dropped my minor in marketing. I'm all in for real estate now. I want to intern under you, no shortcuts. Learn it from the ground up. I stared at him, this young man who had chosen truth over comfort, ethics over blood, and felt something swell in my chest that no dollar amount had ever given me. I'd like that, I said softly, but we're starting with rent rolls, tenant calls, and leak inspections. No executive desks for you yet. He grinned. Perfect. I want to earn every inch of this. There was a pause. Then he pulled something else from his backpack, an envelope. Mom asked me to give you this. This. I didn't want to at first, but I think you should see it. I unfolded the letter inside. Heather's handwriting was shaky, unadorned. I'm sorry, you were right about everything. Please take care of Landon. He's better than we were. That was it. No excuses, no manipulation, just a quiet plea from a daughter who finally understood the price of her choices. I folded it slowly and placed it in the drawer beside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a beginning. Later that afternoon, Landon and I visited my first property, the little duplex on Emerson Street, the one I'd bought with borrowed money and nothing but grit in my bones. This, I told him as we walked the cracked sidewalk to the door, is where it all started. He looked around wide-eyed. And this is where I'll start, too. As we walked through the units, discussing maintenance cycles and tenant turnover, I felt something deep inside begin to shift. Not revenge, not even justice, legacy. Not built on bloodlines, but on values. And the courage to protect them. Moral of the story. Sometimes family isn't who shares your name. It's who protects your name when it matters. Justice isn't about punishment. It's about truth, about standing your ground when no one else will, and about choosing integrity over silence. The empire I built will survive, not because I fought for it, but because I passed it on to someone who understands what it costs to build.